We've lived alongside these birds for so long that the white splatter on the sidewalk has become a permanent, if unsightly, fixture of the urban landscape. Biologically, that guano is an active mass of fungi, bacteria, and pathogens. It is a concentrated source of infection that remains potent long after it is deposited. Just look at this typical urban ledge. As pigeons roost here day after day, they build up crusted white layers of excrement directly onto the structures where we live and work. What happens next depends entirely on the weather. A heavy rainstorm will liquefy and carry this mass into our infrastructure, while bright sunlight bakes it into a volatile, airborne powder. The moment a pigeon dropping hits the concrete, it becomes a phase-changing environmental pollutant that begins a destructive journey through the urban ecosystem. Let's follow the water first. When rain hits accumulated pigeon waste, it activates the extreme acidity locked inside. With a pH level between 3.0 and 4.5, the resulting runoff acts as a corrosive liquid. As this liquid flows over buildings and monuments, it eats into metal and stone. This chemical reaction causes billions of dollars in structural damage to city centers every year. This diagram illustrates the runoff sequence. When this acidic, nutrient-heavy liquid washes into local soil and waterways, it dumps excess nitrogen and phosphorus into the ecosystem. This sudden spike triggers oxygen-depleting algal blooms that can kill off local fish populations. Urban pigeons also ingest our waste. A 2025 study from Mexico City found that their droppings contain high concentrations of polystyrene and polyethylene. As rain washes the guano away, it carries these microplastic fragments directly into the urban groundwater supply. Through the wet pathway, a single dropping can shift the nitrogen balance and acidity of the surrounding soil and water infrastructure. But when there is no rain, the threat changes form. On a dry, sunny day, the ledge becomes a source of airborne contamination. As the waste bakes, it releases ammonia gas and begins to crumble. The solid mass fractures into microscopic particulate matter, dust small enough to be classified as PM2.5. Urban winds catch these particles, which are loaded with fungal spores and dried avian proteins, and blow them through open windows and into our respiratory systems. Inhaling this specific cocktail of dust causes an intense inflammatory disease called hypersensitivity pneumonitis. It is more commonly known as pigeon breeder's lung. Inside the lung, the body's immune system reacts to these avian antigens as a severe threat. It mounts an aggressive defense that fills the tiny air sacs, the alveoli, with deep tissue inflammation. This immune response causes a persistent dry cough, chest tightness, and extreme fatigue. Because these symptoms mirror a common flu, the actual cause often goes undiagnosed for months. If the exposure doesn't stop, that chronic inflammation leads to pulmonary fibrosis. This is permanent, irreversible scarring that hardens the lung tissue and reduces your total breathing capacity. By drying out in the sun, a structural nuisance transforms into a life-altering respiratory disease. When millions of pigeons inhabit a city, they create concentrated hotspots of pollution. In these areas, the air quality is significantly degraded by the constant release of particulate matter and ammonia. These hotspots are sustained by accessible food sources, like overflowing trash bins or intentional feeding, which keep thousands of birds nesting in the same small radius. To break this cycle, cities use architectural deterrents. Installing metal anti-roosting spikes or slanted ledges removes the flat surfaces pigeons need to congregate and deposit waste. If you have a pigeon problem on your own balcony, your cleaning method determines whether those pathogens stay on the ground or enter your lungs. Dry sweeping the crusty guano is the most direct way to aerosolize it. You should always use liquid cleaning methods to weigh the dust down and prevent it from becoming airborne. For your own safety, wear an N95 mask to block the inhalation of PM2.5 particles. If you live near a pigeon population and experience a persistent, unexplained cough, consult a pulmonologist immediately. Early detection is the only way to prevent the onset of permanent lung scarring. Pigeon droppings represent a systemic environmental failure point. Protecting our health requires us to change how we build our cities and how we manage the biological threats that gather on our ledges.